Welcome back to Law and Crime. We're going to check in right now on the live trial of Roy Coons in Tennessee. He's accused of attempting to sexually abuse a 12-year-old girl and strangled her to death. On the stand right now in that trial, you can see right there is Officer Warren Flake. He is a patrol officer that responded to the scene at the family's mobile home. Let's go there live. All right, so that was Warren Flake that was just on the stand. As we heard, he was one of the officers that responded to the mobile home during this and obviously processed the crime scene a little bit. He talked about the swabs he took, which were then processed for DNA as well as fingerprint. So I want to bring in our guest today, Ecleynne Mercy, a criminal defense attorney. Ecleynne, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me.
So what do you think of his testimony so far? Why was it important for the state to ask him about how and what the procedure was when he got to that mobile home?
Well, understand that the juries are lay people, so you want to set the stage. You want to really walk them through the process. A lot of the juries, they have, I like to say they have degrees from Law and Order CSI or Law and Order Miami, CSI Miami. So they think, how TV portrays it and how it happens in real life. It's good to really walk through the actual steps of an investigation. And that's what they did with this officer.
And what was the importance of bringing that up? Because I know we know that DNA and forensics are going to be playing a huge role in this. And I'm guessing that's what sort of they're eventually going to be leading to here.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You want to discredit, if you're the offense, you want to discredit the investigation. One of the things that they want to show is, all right, did you swab for the assailant, or were you just swabbing for Coons? And that's what the defense, I think, needs to set up right now.
All right, Ecleynne, thank you so much. Stay with us. We have to take a break. Plenty more when we come back. All right, so we just heard from the fingerprint examiner, that's Jessica Davis. She talked a lot about what she collected there, how she processed everything, and whether or not she could relate and tie this all back to Roy Coons based on fingerprints and things that were pulled from the scene. So Ecleynne, the prosecution was asking the questions here and basically said that the fingerprints weren't identified to him, from what I understand. Is that correct?
What I gathered, that's basically what that was the evidence that they presented, which makes no sense. I don't see how any of it was relevant. I don't see, if for the prosecution's case, I don't see how the bag was relevant. Why was that brought up? I don't see, it's her iPad, and her fingerprints were on her own iPad. Like, I don't understand where they were going with this questioning. What it actually did was help defense, because to show that they had no intention, if I was the defense attorney, they had no intention to find the real killer based on their investigation thus far. Their intention was to just find all the evidence connected to Coons and not the real killer. So that would be the argument I would use if I was defense.
That was actually going to be my next question for you. I mean, this seems like this is something that the defense will be able to run with in a way, because so far we've just had a lot of scientific and DNA things being presented to us, and this leaves some doubt within all that. Yeah,
absolutely, because it's just based off the numbers and the time. I feel like this case was, the prosecution of this case was kind of irresponsible, in the sense that from the date of the crime to the date of the arrest, we have maybe 46 days, all right? And the rest of Mr. Coons, in which we have no, there was DNA swabs that found that there was male DNA, but didn't know what male it was. And of course, it wasn't to Coons. And they just stopped the investigation there, according to the information that I have so far. So what it seems like is, from the date of his arrest until now, the state has just been trying to get evidence to connect Coons to the crime, and not get evidence of who committed the crime. So you can actually see that in their questioning. You can actually see that in the evidence that is being presented.
Yeah, very interesting stuff here. We'll continue to follow this when we come back. We got to take a quick break. All right, so that was very interesting. We just heard about evidence and things collected from a car connected to all of this. We're not exactly sure how this car is connected here, but we heard one of the police officers about what she collected from it. And then we also saw some pictures and images of what was in this car. Ecleynne, what do you make of all this? Why would the prosecution talk about this car and mention all these things that were inside of it?
Well, to make some type of connection. So Roy Coons is obviously a man, and if this is his car, to find the 3 pads, while there's evidence that Joanna had her menstrual cycle at the time of the incident. So we have the 3 pads that were wrapped. We have the earring studs. We have the pink sports bra, all to show that maybe there was a female or a younger female connected to the car. However, I don't know how they're going to make a connection to Joanna because we don't have used maxi pads. It was just wrapped up pads. Then we have the car and we have the tool bag. I'm assuming that they're going to try to say that the murder weapon came from this particular bag that came from his car, which then leaves something open for the defense.
Right. All right, Ecleynne, I got to cut you off because we have to take a hard break. But when we come back, we will continue to break this all down. Stay with us here on Law&Crime. All right, so that's really tough to watch there. That is the victim's mother, Patricia Velasquez. She's so emotional. She's crying. She's talking about and describing how she got home and found her daughter dead. Ecleynne, let me bring you in to talk about this because this is a big moment here. You know, we see the emotion from the mom, and of course, anytime we have a child that's dead and one of the parents taking the stand, this is going to be a big moment.
Yes, absolutely. And she was compelling. Somebody murdered her child. Now, defense will say, yes, somebody did. Her child was murdered. You are looking at a woman who is testifying to her child no longer being here because somebody took that child's life. However, she wasn't there when it happened. So it's up to the state, it's up to the prosecution, it's up to the law enforcement to find her child's murderer. And unfortunately, as of right now, me looking at the case, I don't think the prosecution is doing a good job. I really think that they dropped the ball on this one with regards to the investigation. You have from the date of the crime, August 10th, until the date of the arrest, September 25th, 46 days. And we have testimony, we have evidence saying that there was male DNA that wasn't tested for. We have an iPad that we don't have witnesses to say what was she doing on social media, you know. But it was easy to really get Coons. Coons was a convenient defendant. Unfortunately, we get those often, which is he was 2 doors down from the house. We have evidence that he's done work in that trailer. But we also have what the prosecution is going to say is that he has an extensive criminal history, which actually helps him in the sense that if he supposedly just murdered this little girl 2 doors down, why would he be seen mowing the lawn 2 weeks later? You understand? So I feel like this particular case, Coons is a convenient defendant, meaning that he was at he lived in the wrong place at the wrong time. If the defense keeps that narrative, I think it'll be successful.
Yeah, that's exactly a good point. And one of the things you bring up is the fact that you have no eyewitnesses or anyone who saw or heard anything, which I think is maybe becoming a struggle for the prosecution here. You know this because you're obviously a criminal defense attorney. How can they take that and go with it? Because there was no one there. And as you said, that yes, he worked on the house, but that might not be enough.
They can't. It's hard. The elements of even their charges are ambitious. They can't. We don't attempted rape of a child. We don't have any proof of attempted rape. She was on her menstrual. All you're saying is that she came in and her underwear was lowered. Mm-hmm. And then, but we don't have proof of any sexual anything. So how do we make this leap? And then it's like, then they're saying aggravated burglary, the intent would be to attempt rape. We don't have anything connecting to anything. I think that they dropped the ball. You have DNA. There is testimony. We have DNA of a man in, I do believe, if it's not, is it in her, I think it's in her room that DNA was found of another male. And they just stopped. You know, the statute of limitations for murder there is none. So the law enforcement as well as the prosecution had enough time, enough resources to find who actually murdered Joanna. I don't think they did a good job at all. I think this was bad. This was bad.
All right, Ecleynne, let's listen to more from the mother when she was on the stand, because this, as we said, is really the most compelling part here. All right, so that was more from the victim's mom there. Ecleynne, let's talk about this some more. One of the things you mentioned earlier, and we know that Coons has a lengthy criminal record. He's been convicted of over 30 offenses since 1992. How is that going to play into all of this, and does it help or hurt? You mentioned that it actually might help the defense.
Yes, I think it actually helps the defense in the sense that there's no connection to the crimes that he's have committed to this crime. You know, we don't have a history of anything with children. We don't have a history of anything sexual. You know, he steals things. All right. He drinks a lot. He's special. These are what his convictions actually show. I feel like he was a convenient defendant. He is 2 doors down from the incident. I feel like law enforcement probably said, I didn't have to look that far. Who's a criminal around here? They found Coons and they made it, and they put it together. I think they ended their investigation there, and that's a problem. You don't have anything else but his lengthy criminal history, which helps him in the sense that, okay, so if I committed this crime, I know what prison looks like. I know what getting in trouble entails. If I committed this major crime, I'm not going to mow a lawn 2 weeks afterwards. I'm not going to do that. I feel like all of it actually helps his case because it makes no sense. And the prosecution I think they're going to attempt to just make the jury make it make sense. And that's a problem.
And one of the things we know is that the family had told media outlets that Coons suffered with mental illness. We haven't heard that be brought up at all yet, but is that going to play a role here at all, you think?
Well, mental illness it's not going to, they haven't made the connection. Even if he has a mental illness, how does that bring about whole new manifestations? Now suddenly he's a molester for children. Suddenly he's out here looking for young girls. It doesn't make any sense. So yes, even if he has mental illness, you'll see the symptoms, you'll see the habits. They have not provided anything prior to this arrest that he's had any issues with Joanna.
Right. All right, Ecleynne, thank you so much. We have to take a break. Plenty more when we come back.